All right, today I'm going to go over how to make the world's oldest alcoholic beverage, mead. Today it's most known for its relation to Viking culture, but evidence shows that mead has been around for at least 8,000 years and spans across continents and cultures. For this batch of mead, I'm going to be using this 7.9 gallon conical fermenter. It's my current favorite due to its price and simplicity, but you're free to use any food-safe, airtight container. I've used wine jugs and 1 gallon carboys in the past. I've also linked to a supply list in this video along with detailed instructions on the post here. You can check it out, the link is below. Once you gather all your supplies, the first thing you're going to want to do is sanitize everything you're using to make mead. Your spoons, your bowls, everything you're using. This is some sanitizer that I recommend. It's also in the supply list. You're going to want to go ahead and sanitize your fermenter that you're using. What I do is I slosh it around for a few minutes and then pour it out. And for 8 gallons, I use 12 kilograms. If you're doing a 1 gallon batch, you can drop that down to about 1.5 kilograms. In the post, you can see I also converted it to pounds. After sanitizing, the next thing we're going to want to do is prepare our must. A must is a homogeneous mixture of honey and water that we're going to add to the fermenter. The idea is to prevent honey from collecting at the bottom in its kind of gelatinous form. So we use hot water. You can do it on the stove. We use water out of our tap because we have a well, but I wouldn't suggest using water out of your tap if you're on a municipal system, because of all the other additives and chlorine and things like that that are in there. But hot water, honey, about half and half, mix it up, add to the fermenter, and then we're going to fill the fermenter to the desired level the rest of the way with water, and we'll be ready to add ingredients. You can make a clean mead with just honey and water, but using cinnamon, cloves, and oranges I've found guarantees a pretty tasty mead batch. It's kind of a spiced mead flavor. I totally suggest doing it for your first one. You can't go wrong. In this video, you'll see we're just throwing all the ingredients in the fermenter. One thing that I suggest doing, and it's on the instructions on the website, is using cheesecloth or spice herb infuser balls to put your ingredients and flavorings in. It'll just help make your mead a lot clearer and make it easier to get all the sediment out in the end. Sometimes it's kind of a pain. You'll be pulling raisins out of bottles and chunks of orange and seeds and things like that. But you're free to toss them in there too. It all works. It's very forgiving. So here in this batch, we're using Red Star Premier Blanc yeast. And on the website instructions, I suggest for your first batch, 71B. You'll probably have success with a lot of the other yeasts that I mentioned in there. Premier Blanc's a fine one too. What I'm doing here is called pitching the yeast. This is preparing the yeast to put into the fermenter. Now, there's a lot of people going back and forth saying that you got to do it this way, don't just throw it in there. I've had no issue just throwing it in dry. One advantage to doing it this way is if you stir this up in lukewarm water and you see it foaming up, you know that your yeast is alive. So if you have really old yeast, I would suggest doing this. But if you have fresh yeast, you can throw it in dry. You can put it in there and just stir it in. It's no issue. I've been successful each way. So before we built our mead room, we used to brew down in the bodega underneath our house. And one of the reasons I like these Fast Ferment conical fermenters is they're about $100 and they come with wall mounts and they're just very handy. They also make it very easy to get the sediment out of the mead in that little collector bulb down below. So 36 hours later, you can see it is bubbling on the top, which is what we should see. Everything looks good, no leaks. If you're not bubbling in a day or so, you've either killed your yeast or used bad yeast. So you definitely want to troubleshoot that. And now that the mead is going, it's just a waiting game now. It's usually about 2 weeks. You're going to wait for that bubbler to stop bubbling, which means the yeast is done converting sugar into alcohol or has hit an alcohol limit. And the next thing we'll do before bottling is remove the sediment, which is called racking. The cool thing about these fast fermenters is you can just pop that bulb off and dump it. It's also a good time to do a taste test. Now, if you're using bottles like this to ferment your mead, you're going to have to remove the sediment in a different way, and that usually involves a tube from your fermenter into a sanitized glass bottle And what you're going to do is pull the mead out while avoiding all of the sediment on the bottom, and then you can allow it to resettle in the new bottle. Sometimes to get clear mead, it might take multiple rackings. Sometimes it takes me 2 or 3 times before I get the clarity that I like. After that, you can put your mead in sanitized glass bottles, and you're supposed to wait, but you can drink it immediately. It's very hard to wait sometimes because it is tasty no matter what. Feel free to comment below and check out the website because I put a lot more detail into the instructions concerning how to make mead. So let me know what you think.